If we could begin the meeting with the Lord's Prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. We could salute the flag, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Councilor Ramirez.
Here.
Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Councilor Caulfield.
Here.
Councilor Donahue.
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Mayor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Armand Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Here.
9 present.
Okay, there are several matters under the city manager's agenda. There is one, no secret that we've received a letter. We have a motion to suspend the rules to entertain a letter from the city manager. So moved by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The rules are suspended. Letter from the city manager dated April 24, 2006. Mayor William Martin and members of the Lowell City Council. Dear Mayor and Councilors, please be advised that effective Monday, July 31st, 2006 at 12 p.m., I will be resigning my position as city manager of Lowell. If you have any questions regarding this, please do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you. Yours truly, John F. Cox, city manager. Is there a motion to accept the communication placed on file? So moved by Councilor Milanazzo, seconded by Councilor Ramirez. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Before the evening is through, I would like a roll call on that letter that we received about Manager Cox's resignation. But as long as we're on the subject matter, the city of Lowell has prospered and flourished under the John Cox administration over the past 6 years. 6 years ago, I was proud and happy to support John Cox as our city manager. And after 6 years of managing the city, I am still proud and happy to support John Cox as our city manager. I know my colleagues would probably want to speak, and I won't belabor the issue, but there's just a few projects I would like to name. The Senior Center, where our seniors can now go to a state-of-the-art facility and now enjoy themselves. The best bond rating in the history of the city of Lowell. The renovations of the Pollard Memorial Library. As we speak, the renovations of College Stadium, which will be the state-of-the-art facility, it will be an envy of every high school in Massachusetts. Repaving over 10 miles of streets and sidewalks. The jam plan, the acre plan, all the new parks, Mr. Manager, you have built, the islands to beautify neighborhoods. Proposed $20 million bridge over the Merrimack River, the first permanent structure built over the Merrimack River in probably close to 80 years. A $100 million courthouse. And finally, the World Curling Championships that this city hosted. 11 countries and many states from our country. They had a marvelous time and said nothing but, gave nothing but accolades to you and your staff, Mr. Manager. I could go on, the list is long, but I'll leave it at that. The city has done well under your guidance and your leadership. And if you look at the other cities in the Commonwealth, Springfield, Fall River, New Bedford, Holyoke, our sister city, 10 miles down the road, Lawrence, look at those cities. Can they say the same thing? I don't think so. And it's because of your leadership, Mr. Manager, we have accomplished that goal. Thank you.
Councilor Rita Mercier?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say just a little bit, because I think I said enough on the radio how I truly feel, but I just wanted to say that 6 years ago, I knew the name John Cox, but I didn't know the person. And when you were one of the candidates vying for this position as city manager, I viewed everybody, all the applicants, and I had a few calls from Tom Bellegarde, Frank Muldoon, Mark Briere, Bernie Lemoyne, people like those people that I trusted, and quite a few of them in this room here as well. But it would be too long to mention that that was the most calls I ever got was in support of you for city manager. And I didn't know you, so I didn't know how you would be, but I knew these people that called me, and I admired and I valued their opinion. So I took their advice, and I asked you 3 things. If I would support you, would you take this senior center and put it from the back burner to the front burner? And you promised me you would. And with a mother such as you have that said, Johnny boy, now you better put this ahead now. You better do it for our seniors. Not only did you listen to me, but you listened to your mother. That's a testament right there. But I will tell you that I have never been wrong with you. I have never been wrong. You have gave me a word on 3 occasions, and you kept it. That I admire very much. And I've said it time and time again, how you treat your subordinates, like how a son treats his mother. I look upon that. How a boss treats his employees. I admire that. The climate in this city hall, and I've been here for 10 years, 11 years, I know how that feels. And when I see that you treat the people digging the ditch and you pull your car over and get out and say, great job, that's a sign of a true man. I cannot tell you how much I admire you as a person. I thought that you're making me very nervous taking my picture. I don't like it.
Don't worry, Rita, it won't be in.
It won't. That's okay. That's all right. All right. All right. But I want you to know that up until this moment, I respect you, and I wish you the best of everything. I had the pleasure of serving with you for almost 6 years. Not that we've ever always agreed. We didn't always agree. But I've been married for 39 years to my husband, and we don't agree either, so that's all right. That's all right. I wish you the best. Hold your head up high. You're a gentleman, a true person, and I love you. I do.
Councilor Armin Mercier?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is nobody on this council that has known John Cox as long as I. We're talking 40 years. As a young man, when his father and I were pounding the streets for him to be a city councilor, his father that is, I saw a character in young John that I never forgot, and one of the easiest and best votes that I've ever made was to vote for him to be city manager. It's a vote that I've never regretted, never been ashamed of, and I'm saddened by the decision that he's arrived at today. I think that he can leave City Hall at the end of the term, as he specified in the resignation letter, with his head held high. The legacy that he's left behind will never be forgotten by the people of Lowell, and it was an honor and a privilege to serve with you, John, and particularly when I was mayor. We were a team as councilors. We all did this by teamwork. You didn't do it alone. You did it with the help of the councilors, but you've earned the respect that you're getting tonight by all of us. And I want to wish you, your family, and your mother in particular, who will not have to watch TV on Tuesday nights after June 30th, and then call me the next day and say, July 30th, I'm sorry. See, I advanced your thing, you know. Maybe I wanted to give you more time off. Good luck to you and your family. I don't want to belabor this anymore. You know how I feel about you, and you've never let me down. Thank you.
Councilor Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am obviously on the other side of this issue, but I do want to say for the record that I want to thank the manager for his professionalism this morning. I did listen to him on the radio, and I thought that he was very professional, and I think he did himself and his family proud, so I just want to thank him for that. Thank you.
Okay, it's a request for a roll call to accept the communication placed on file.
Councilor Ramirez,
Yes.
Councilor Broderick,
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield,
No.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott,
Yes.
Mayor Martin,
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia,
No.
Councilor Rita Mercia,
No.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
6 yeas, 3 nays.
6 yeas, the motion is approved. Next item is a,
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I believe there's someone registered to speak, whether you want to do it now or later on in the evening. I believe there's one person registered to speak. No?
I think that was withdrawn.
Oh, okay.
No one registered to speak, Mr. Clerk? Okay, next item is approval of the minutes of the April 18th meeting. Motion to approve the minutes by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Donahue. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved.
Present.
8 yeas, 1 present. Next item is an order of taking. Order of taking number 7 for the jam plan. This matter goes on for, I don't know, some 20-plus pages. Their motion to suspend the full reading by
Motion to
Councilor
waive the full
Donahue.
reading.
Seconded by Councilor Broderick. Motion to, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion to waive the full reading is approved. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, and Lowell City Council, order of taking number 7 in the jam plan to take by eminent domain certain parcels of land in the City of Lowell for municipal purposes, to wit, in furtherance of the Hamilton Canal District development. Second reading by title, an order of taking number 7, the jam plan, to take by eminent domain certain parcels of land in the City of Lowell for municipal purposes, to wit, for furtherance of the Hamilton Canal District development. What's the wish of the council?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Caulfield.
The council received a new term sheet from Mr. LaChulis's attorneys, and I was just wondering if the council would like to refer this to the Economic Subcommittee for their review.
Okay. Is that a motion to refer the matter to the Economic Development Committee by Councilor Caulfield?
Yes, a second.
Seconded by Councilor Rita Mercier. On the motion, Councilor Donahue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a problem if it gets referred. However, I do want to move forward with the order of takings tonight. We did get a new term sheet from Mr. LaChulis's attorney. We've been in negotiations with him for many, many, many months. This hearing has been delayed at least twice in terms of the takings. Again, it's another 11th hour. I've reviewed the terms. First, through you to the solicitor, there was stamped on this communication confidential, and I take it that Mr. LaChulis's attorney is the one who put that little notation on it, correct?
I would assume so,
Right.
and obviously any of these are.
I mean, these are public documents, right? So, I mean, am I wrong?
Well, these are part of settlement discussions, and I would say
Okay.
that they are privileged.
Well, how do we discuss it? I mean, here's the problem. They've made a proposal, and it's, and I'm not sure what makes it confidential, because it kind of ties our hands to discuss what's on the table. So I guess I'm asking you, are you saying don't discuss what they proposed, or?
I would not discuss what they proposed
All right.
publicly, and again, because we're heading to, particularly in anticipation of litigation, particularly at this stage, that any discussions regarding a proposed resolution of this
Okay.
that would involve the council should be held in executive
Then-
session. And the same would be true
For these-
with respect to the evidence of the appraisals.
Okay, so actually then we really can't refer to the subcommittee to talk about. In other words, it would sound like, from what you're saying, it should go into executive session if the council's going to talk about the terms of that proposal.
I think that would be a more
Okay.
appropriate way of
Well,
handling it.
Without violating that caution. I'm in favor of moving forward, and in terms of the new term sheet, I can just say that I don't see a whole lot of difference from before. I think there's still a wide divide. And again, through you to the solicitor, can we not move forward on a vote but delay the recording of the vote for 30 days under the law, so that there's a window wherein if there's going to be an agreement reached, there's the opportunity to, and yet we're not behind
Correct.
schedule in terms of moving forward?
Excuse me. Procedurally, you're correct. We would have 30 days to do the recording. Historically, we have always tried to do, meaning the law department has always tried to record promptly for obvious reasons. Legally, we do have 30 days to record this, and then after that, the city would then have an additional 60 days in which to provide the owner, all of these owners, with their pro tanto payment. And obviously, it's our intention that in the event that an agreement is not reached, that we would provide those pro tanto payments promptly, because interest would begin accruing from the date of the recording.
All right. On the motion, as far as referring it, then, it seems that we'd have a problem going to the Economic Development Subcommittee, unless the subcommittee went into executive session. I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense, because then the subcommittee has to report back to the council as a whole. So on the motion, I guess I would have that to say. Without getting into the specifics of the appraisal or the terms, I would be in favor of moving forward on the vote and asking the law department to delay recording it for 30 days so that the administration has an opportunity to continue negotiations, and if it's appropriate to bring it to an executive session, then we can talk about it in further detail. I'm concerned that we have delayed this vote several times, not necessarily because of the proposal, but because of the grants and so forth. So, and for other issues, if we can move forward. So that's my feeling on the orders.
So is that a motion in substitution of the original?
As far as the subcommittee?
Right.
Yeah, I guess it would be that we move forward and ask the law department to delay for 30 days and then have the administration report to the council if need be in executive session as far as the negotiations.
Okay, motion in substitution by Councilor Donahue, second by Councilor Ramirez. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that that's a good idea. I think that we have held it up, and if we can hold off for 30 days, the manager seems to have made some progress in this last meeting with Attorney Sophocles, and I think that it would be a good idea to go into executive session to review the terms here. I know in reading it that I found out how much I don't know about environmental law, so I think it would be helpful to get some insight into some of the terms here as to what liabilities may be out there, and I think that with the understanding that the manager can and will continue to negotiate and hopefully resolve it, but I think it keeps the heat on the other end to get down to business, because at this point I would imagine they know what they will do or will take for the property, so that I think we have to keep the heat on to get it done. Thank you.
Councilor Rita Mercier.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city solicitor, would this require a time before the public hearing, the new terms of the agreement before us? Would any of this have to go before a public hearing?
No.
So we don't need a public hearing if after 30 days we support the new terms before us, we just vote on it?
The action that you would take tonight, if you were to vote for a taking, the majority, then the law department would, as instructed, wait 30 days to record, and that during that time, that would allow the manager an opportunity to pursue these settlement discussions further, and if appropriate, call an executive session with the council to appraise them of the latest developments. But the vote would stand.
Councilor Donahue.
Unless it was a conditional vote.
Let me, if I may ask through you, Mr. Mayor, to the solicitor again, if the city wasn't able to reach an agreement within the 30 days or or even after, when it was at the land court, then the proposal to take it by eminent domain is that the city would have to pay whatever the appraisal is, and then the city has a right to deduct the cleanup costs from that, not necessarily on the front end, but the city. So let's say, just for example, if the appraisal was $1 million and it cost $500,000 to clean it up because of environmental issues, then the city would pay Mr. Luchulis $1 million, but could pursue, Mr. Luchulis is responsible for the $500,000 it costs to clean it up. Is that fair to say?
Yes, along with, I would add, any other claims that the city might have.
Okay.
For example, historic board fines or whatever it would happen to be. And in all likelihood, not, again, speaking about this case in particular, but in a case of eminent domain, typically the owner, if they're not satisfied with the pro tanto payment, would then institute a suit against the city. The city might raise its own claims, and it would all typically be bundled in that
Right,
package.
and obviously the settlement discussions are an effort to avoid that whole scenario. So,
Correct.
But if you couldn't avoid it, then that's the process.
That's the process.
Okay.
Okay, Council Broderick, then Council Arman Mercia.
I'm sorry to jump in again. Through you to the solicitor, is it possible, or the manager, I don't know if this is a legal question, is it possible to have the appraisers come to an executive session to answer some questions?
Absolutely, and that I would encourage that to happen. And any of the information contained in the appraisal for the city is strictly confidential. It's not a matter of public record, and I think the council should be apprised at some point of discussions with the appraisers and what kind of information they have and what kind of advice they can give the council regarding this proposed settlement and any others.
Thank you. I think that would be important if we can include them. Obviously, the manager's been in contact with them in his negotiations, and maybe it would be helpful if we are brought up to speed as to what information is out there. Thank you.
Okay, Council Arman Mercia.
Question to the solicitor. We're talking strictly on this motion about Luchulis's property, right? No other. There are no other takings here incorporated in this vote.
No, there are other takings, and the way this was prepared in the law department is that they are all listed individually. So if there are any particular objections for some, and you don't want to vote for some and not all, that there can be a motion to...
I would like to have it separated
Right.
because
Yeah.
I agree with the motion to take tonight and then stop the recording for 30 days only on Luchulis's property.
Okay.
I'd like to
Yeah.
separate it where all the other properties is taking, period,
Okay.
and filed. So if there are no objections to incorporate that in your motion, that the delay of filing is only for Luchulis's property, all the other properties would be voted on tonight to be taken, if that's understandable. Yeah.
Okay, no objection to that clarification on the motion. Okay, anything further? Councilor Elliott.
Excuse me, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Either the solicitor or the manager, I did attend the subcommittee meeting, and can you sort of recap exactly where we are at? I know that we got a revised settlement from Mr. Luchulis, but where's the stopgap measure? At what point are we willing to say, okay, this is the deal that we're looking for, or it's not what we're looking for? I mean, I think one major issue that I have is why we're not being allowed to get on the site to do some environmental work. And I understand he says that's going to be capped at $500,000 that the city's going to absorb, and then he's going to be responsible for the rest. But you know, we have to chase him for everything, including the back taxes that he currently owes. And I checked.
Could we
This
just...
is confident, why are we talking about the terms of this agreement
I
right
think-
now?
I think
thought
she-
it was confidential.
Well,
The city solicitor advised us that we shouldn't be talking about this agreement. Am I right? And some of the statements, well intended, are talking about the agreement. So I need a
Well,
clarification.
I
Councilor
guess I'm
Elliott?
just trying to get to the point where we've been going around, in my opinion, and maybe that's a negotiating process, in circles. And my concern is we got a $3.6 million bond out on the rest of the Hamilton Canal District. And I don't think, in my opinion, we've moved very far at all whatsoever. And I don't think we're going to. So and we're paying almost $231,000 in interest. So that's my concern. I'd like to see the thing move forward one way or the other. Either we're going to negotiate a settlement or not. And I've been at the subcommittee meetings, I've seen the settlements, and I don't see that much of a change, that much of a difference. So I would like to know at what point are we going to, negotiate a settlement or not? Now,
If I may, Mr. Mayor, councilors, ladies and gentlemen, my understanding by the action being taken tonight is that effectively the Chulis property and the other properties included here will be taken tonight, and there'll be a 30-day window for the administration to continue to talk with LaChulis. Now, clearly, within the next 30 days, there's going to be an end point of that discussion, and then when that happens, we will bring it to the executive session within the 30 days, and the council will decide whether to do that agreement or not do it. If this council decides not to do it, then the taking would go forth as put in place tonight.
Thank you.
I think we're talking 30 days at the most now from tonight.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
That's what I want to know. At some point, we're just going to bring in an agreement where either accepted or rejected. That's all I want to know. We're going to vote on that 30-day time frame. Thank you.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to proceed with the takings and delay recording with respect to the LaChulis properties for 30 days, have the manager report back in executive session if there's any further progress on negotiations.
And
Okay.
separate
Okay, so roll call on that motion. Councilor Caulfield, I'm sorry.
I just want some clarification, Mr. Mayor. Are we voting tonight to fund the eminent domain takings of all the property on Jackson, Middlesex Street?
Councilor, there was a public hearing scheduled for 7 p.m. for a loan order. I believe that matter has been withdrawn because the funds to be used for this have been now received by the city through DPD. There was a Betty grant and another grant. Those funds are available, so there will be no vote to authorize a borrowing for this. The city...
For eminent domain?
Right.
And what's the vote we're going to vote on? What are we voting on?
The vote is to proceed with the eminent domain takings on all the properties and delay recording with respect to the LaChulis properties for 30 days to give the manager some further time to negotiate with the owner of the LaChulis properties.
And Councilor Armin Mercier made a good point. You're going to divide that question
separate it.
as to what we're taking, what the eminent domain takings.
I don't think there's a need to divide the question.
It's incorporated in the motion.
Oh.
My concern has already been incorporated in the motion.
Okay, any further questions? Roll call.
Just on the motion and not the taking.
This is, on the motion to proceed with the taking. So this is the vote.
Councilor Ramirez, Yes. Councilor Broderick,
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield,
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia.
Yes,
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Okay, any subcommittee reports? Councilor Milonazo.
The Economic Development Subcommittee met at 5 o'clock this afternoon to go over the Hamilton Canal plan. We actually, it was in response to a motion filed by Councilor Broderick regarding amending the plan. And as a result of that meeting, we did get an update from the administration regarding where we are with the master developer, and it's our hope that we actually have a solicitation ready by mid-June to bring on a master developer. I think, without speaking for Councilor Broderick, I think his concern was that we don't want to limit the development that actually takes place at the Hamilton Canal. And City Manager Cox did assure us that he's looking at it as a blank canvas, and there's going to be 16 acres, and it could be housing, it could be office, it could be retail. And we're going to look to a master developer to work with the community as a whole to determine what type of use will end up being at the Hamilton Canal. Clearly, what we're dealing with now is site control by virtue of that last vote, and we're just trying to, again, move the project forward. I think that, again, Councilor Broderick working under the guise of being able to market the community, to create jobs. We do have to create a minimum of at least, I believe it's 143 jobs in the Hamilton Canal District, and we're going to be able to hopefully continue to increase that going forward. So again, as a report of progress, the Economic Development Subcommittee continues to work with the Planning Department to move the Hamilton Canal project forward. I don't know if my colleagues want to add anything to that, but we'll probably meet again in a couple of weeks to deal with the RFQ for the master developer.
Thank you. Councilor Donahue?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the motion that Councilor Broderick made to look at this and to discuss the issue is an important one because of times change and maybe changing toward a commercial development or more heavily weighed that way would be appropriate at this time. And given the report that we received last summer, it was more shifted toward the residential. And so certainly the report from the manager and planning and development that this master developer, whenever it's picked, there's not going to be any predetermined structure for the master developer. It's also important because the timetable, at least hopefully, for this master developer is to go out for master developer in June of this year, if possible. But it does require that the city has control of the site. And as we've talked about many, many times here, I mean, we took the property from Freudenberg last March, and we are paying, as Councilor Elliott just said, somewhere right now it's about $231,000 in interest. So the clock is running, the money is being paid daily in order to get a hold of this whole site, which is important, and it does take time. But that's why another reason to keep the orders of taking on target, because if we delay longer, right now we're looking at 30 days, at least on Luchulis, so that would bring us to the end of May. So either we have a deal or we don't have a deal. If we don't have a deal, then we'll go forward with the order of taking and at least have control of the site so that we can go to the next step and go out to get a master developer. So all of these things are interconnected and important, and extraordinarily important for this 15-acre site in the downtown. So, but it's, again, looking at this isn't going to bring a further delay, and I think that was one of the issues that was discussed, and it's a good point to bring out that we can still go forward. So I certainly supported Councilor Broderick's request to look at it again.
Okay. Councilor Rita Mercier?
Not on this.
Not on this. Okay. Okay, motion to accept the committee report as a report of progress and place the same on file. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Past 7 p.m.
I have a subcommittee report.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Rita Mercier, subcommittee report.
The Youth Subcommittee met last Thursday to discuss the motion that I made regarding an update on the Healthy Summer programs and what services would be available to our children during the summer. In attendance was Commissioner of Parks and Recreation Tom Belgard, the Parks and Recreation Program Director and Planner Peter Faticanti, as well as Jim Kennedy representing the vacationing city manager, and fellow subcommittee member Councilor Rodney Elliott. The chairman, Councilor Ramirez, was absent, and it was not televised on cable. At the meeting, we received a proposal of the 2006 summer programs, which indicated that the 4 city pools will be opened, and 1 state pool and 1 beach will be open as they were last year. Healthy Summer is a collaboration of many nonprofit organizations in the city of Lowell, and the feeding sponsors are CTI, the school department, and the Merrimack Valley Food Bank Food Share. And all the school sites that have a summer school program will double as a Healthy Summer feeding site. And if any child up to the age of 18 who is not enrolled in summer school and would like to participate in the programs or the feeding program, they certainly may do so. The Healthy Summer program will commence on July 1st and end on August 18th. The Parks and Recreation Department is in the process of confirming the program participants to respond by April 28th so that a new updated brochure and flyer of all the events can be distributed to the schools. We also learned that the NYSP, the National Youth Sports Program at UMass Lowell, is a partner with us and is offering free USDA lunches. There are other factors and sources that can increase summer recreation and food for the Healthy Summer Program, but it has not been determined at this time if they have gotten right into it, that they received any grants or money, but they're working on it, but it hasn't been determined yet. So I made a motion to Commissioner Bellegarde, seconded by Councilor Elliott, that whatever additional monies come into this program that was not determined before, that this council be made aware of the increases from a letter from the Commissioner Tom Bellegarde, that any additional information on this subject that you'd like to be aware of can be attained on the city website about Healthy Summer Program. So that's the report of progress. Thank you.
Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Councilor Mercier, really recapped the meeting. I just wanted to add, there was also a short discussion on potential funding that we could receive from the state regarding the gang initiative, and Parks and Rec, they're thinking about that, and they're thinking about not only summer programs, but depending upon the level of funding that we do receive, that there will be year-round programs for basketball using the gyms in the winter. But they're already looking at certain plans aimed at-risk kids, and depending upon how much money we do get, will dictate what programs they have. So it'll be an expanded recreational program. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to accept the report as a report of progress and place on file by Councilor Ramirez. Do you want to be heard? No. Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? That matter is approved. Any further subcommittee reports? Okay, we'll move to the public hearings. The first public hearing is a loan order to borrow an additional $4,500,000 for the purpose of financing construction and reconstruction of public parking facilities in the city of Lowell and costs incidental and related thereto. It is ordered by the City Council of the City of Lowell by a 2/3 vote as follows. Ordered that in addition to the $22 million previously appropriated pursuant to the order of the City Council passed January 13, 2004, and the $1,750,000 previously appropriated pursuant to an order of the City Council passed January 3, 2005, the sum of $4,500,000 is appropriated for purpose of financing the acquisition of land for and the construction, original equipping, and furnishing of a public parking garage, the reconstruction, remodeling, and making of extraordinary repairs to existing city-owned parking garages, and the acquisition of equipment for existing city-owned parking garages, including but not limited to the following costs incidental and related thereto: preliminary expenses such as costs as architectural and engineering services, appraisals, and evaluating, mitigating, and/or remediating historic, archaeological, and environmental conditions, the condition of facilities within the newly constructing parking garage for commercial purposes, the cost of leasing and marketing such facilities, cost of managing and mitigating the adverse impacts of the potential of the project on traffic and parking during reconstruction, costs of constructing, reconstructing, relocating streets and sidewalks, costs of landscaping and other site improvements, and costs of relocating current owners and/or tenants of the property acquired for the parking garage construction project, that to meet this additional appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the city manager, is authorized to borrow $4,500,000 and issue bonds or notes therefore under General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 7, General Laws, Chapter 121B, or any other enabling authority, that the city manager is authorized to take any action necessary to carry out the project, and that the treasurer is authorized to file an application with the Municipal Finance Oversight Board to qualify any or all of the bonds under General Laws, Chapter 44A, and to provide such information and execute such document as such board may require for these purposes. Order recommended and introduced by John F. Cox, City Manager. Second reading by title. City Council loan order to borrow an additional $4,500,000 for the purpose of financing construction and reconstruction of the public parking facilities in the City of Lowell and incidental costs related thereto. Public hearing is now open. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of the proposed loan order, please state your name and address for the record, and please be mindful that we do have a 5-minute rule here at the City Council.
My name is Peter Osella. I'm Assistant Superintendent at Lowell National Historical Park, 67 Kirk Street, Lowell. I've been pleased to work with the Division of Planning and Development over the last 3 years or so on the garage project. The city manager appointed me as the only non-city government member of the parking garage committee, but prior to that, I was also a member of the JAM Master Plan Committee, and I think both those roles become important tonight. I think you all know the cost history of the garage, but I think what is critical here is that without the garage, there is no JAM redevelopment, and I think that's really the bottom line to all of this tonight. I think a lot of people have been waiting a long time to see that area revitalized. There are a number of historic properties over there. This is within the boundary of the Preservation District of the National Historical Park. Without approval of this bond tonight, I believe you lose the low bidder and effectively lose the garage. I have not, in my career, in doing public construction work in this city, in other cities, I have never seen a project get cheaper with age. They only cost more. And I think now is the moment that has to be dealt with. I just add that while I'm no expert on, how this should be financed, my understanding is that the current garage rates actually generate more revenue than the cost of operating the garages. That revenue is revenue that could be pledged to another garage, because that's been the argument I've been hearing, is that garage users should finance the garages. So if it's true, and again, I defer to you, but if it's true that there's some $500,000 being collected each year in excess of the garage operations, and if it's true that we need to generate $350,000 to pay this debt, to get this project going, I would say that money's already been raised from the garage users. I'd also add that this project is going to generate some new tax revenues. It's been in the newspaper, and in fact, the developers are here tonight to speak on it, and I just think this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. This was supposed to be a signature building to stimulate the revitalization of the area. It's been a tough and resistant area. I've had many people come from out of town and say, how come when you go up Central Street and you take a right, all the revitalization stops? And it's beginning to come around. And getting this project done is absolutely essential to that. So I thank the DPD, I thank the city manager, I thank all of you for getting it this far. I know you got a tough vote tonight, and I hope you'll do what you can to allow this garage to happen, one that has retail on the ground floor, so it won't be a dead street. It'll be a lively street. The concept is a good one, and one that provides enough spaces to enable the redevelopment around it to happen. You can't do that with a surface parking lot. You just can't. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Karen Bell, 80 Middlesex Street. Councilors, Mayor Martin, Mr. Manager, ladies and gentlemen, I am representing the newly formed JAMBA. I hope you like the name. It's kind of catchy. Jackson Appleton Middlesex Street Business Association. We represent or have in our group a number of the oldest continually operating businesses in Lowell, such as the Factory Shoe Outlet with Al and Barbara Bernstein, Garnick's TV and Music. I go on and on. Washington Savings, you've all been there. Cappy's Copper Kettle. Blaine's. We also have some of the area's largest employers, the Lowell Community Health Center and Adams Furniture. We have a really remarkable area. I have been in the area for 20 years. I know, well, Doesn't seem it. It seems like just yesterday. But when I came into the area in 1986, the Lowell Sun was running an article. And the article said, there is talk of cleaning up Middlesex and Appleton and building a 5-level, 1,700-car parking garage there. That could keynote the revival of this section, which used to be much busier and much more prosperous than it is today. Well, I've seen in the 20 years that I've been in Lowell, not a garage, but I have seen a revitalization of a wonderful city. And this city really pulled itself up through the hard work of many different groups of people working together. We've had strong city councils. We've had extremely wonderful mayors, our 2 Merciers, Eileen, Bud, Bill now, and city councilors who have made some pretty tough decisions, and I think tonight you have a very tough decision to make. But Lowell has been made by all of you, and many of you here in this audience who are very hard-working city employees, has been made by all of you into a destination city. Do you remember that when Johnson said, let's make Lowell into a destination city? I think we all remember that. Well, you've made it into a destination city, a city where people come to be entertained. All the things you did for that, right? And now a city where new people are coming in to live, and they're coming in to live in beautiful condos, excellent lofts, artists are coming, and there's a delicate balance, and that balance is something that you really have to weigh. How are you going to continue your progress forward, and our progress forward, and yet at the same time, who pays the bill for that? And I think the problem with it is we can't stop our progress, and I think we have to get a little bit more creative than just dipping into our residents' pockets for more money to help support the project, because we're going to have how many condos? 250 that we have to sell? Well, we're not competing with the garages in Worcester or the garages in Lawrence. We're competing with Dracut, with a condo in Dracut, where somebody can go and park for nothing. So I applaud all of you for everything you've done. I certainly hope, it's long overdue, please help us out with the garage, but hopefully we can find a way that financing the garage will not stop the progress of this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the loan order?
My name is Mark Kadir. I'm speaking on behalf of the Downtown Lowell Business Association and as the owner of Mark's Ring and Fitness, a small retail specialty store in downtown Lowell. The DLBA recognizes the need for the new garage as a priority for the city and represents the first major step in the redevelopment of the JAM area. It is everyone's expectation that the JAM project will bring continued economic stability and growth into the downtown Lowell, and the DLBA supports that agenda. It is with a mixture of optimism and caution that we support the motion to increase parking pass rates in order to cover the rising cost of garage construction. So where do we really stand? Well, large businesses in the downtown area that are covering multiple parking passes stand to be paying considerably more each month. To say they support such an increase for a garage on the other side of the downtown would not be an accurate representation of them. Businesses that fit into this category have either opposed or not commented on the proposed increases. Smaller businesses are not necessarily excited to pay more for their 1 or 2 monthly passes, but are quicker to support such an increase if it would contribute to the increased customer traffic. Recent efforts by the DLBA and the parking department to come up with ways to better serve our short-term visitors has resulted in a great deal of progress and presented many different possibilities. From validation to reserved parking spots, we feel we're on the right track and look forward to further exploring any and all of these possibilities. There's clearly a division within our organization, but the DLBA and the small businesses that make it up have to trust the city administrations and council that this increase is the only way this garage can be funded and that all other avenues of funding have been explored. But if we have to make an investment in the tune of $8 for our parking pass to realize a greater return, then we're prepared to do so and support the proposal.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Your name and address, please.
Mayor Martin, members of the council, Mr. Manager, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mark Coleman, 58 Oakland Street, Lowell, Mass. I wish to be recorded in favor of this. 20 years is a long time for a discussion on the garage when it's first discussed to where it's hopefully going to be finally built. I served on the board of Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association for 4 years. I see the need, I saw the need at that time for a parking garage, and I hope that this is passed unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Laurel Capala, 61 Clark Road. My husband's owned Cappy's Copper Kettle for 40 years. We've been promised they'd do something down there for the last 25. I hope you guys do it for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Other people wishing to speak in favor of the loan order? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
Hi, my name is Elaine Finberry. I'm a principal with the Architectural Heritage Foundation. We're a 501c3 nonprofit preservation development company, and at the moment we're working very hard to secure a vision for the redevelopment, preservation, and revitalization of the Hamilton Canal district that involves 165 Jackson Street, the home of the Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association, and Adden Furniture. These buildings are historically, functionally related, and our intent is to put them back together, restoring the bridges over the canals, creating transportation from one building to the other. The vision is to create 232 units of loft-style housing, which is a flexible space for the creative economy. And the hope is that this development, which will include a total revitalization of the buildings, all new systems, all new windows, everything will be new, but the buildings themselves will be very carefully preserved in accordance with the Secretary of the Interior's standards. This is a Park Service program that the Park Service oversees, and so we'll be very careful to make sure that we do an appropriate rehabilitation, carefully cleaning the building and maintaining all of the pieces of the building that are historic and contribute to the overall very special quality of this amazing city. The program now is to invest somewhere between $50 and $60 million. We haven't generated full construction documents, but we have spent a considerable amount of money to develop a schematic set of documents. We've finished an application for historic preservation tax credits, both federal and state. Our state application will be filed the end of this month, April 30th. And we intend to proceed to put the rest of our financing together and the rest of our planning together. However, as you know, there are certain regulatory requirements in every city that any redevelopment needs to meet, and the basic regulatory requirement that we need to achieve is parking. There is no parking on the site. It's a 19th century industrial village, and they didn't have cars. And so we are looking toward this very important parking garage as the way we can satisfy our regulatory requirement to provide one parking space per unit. And so right out of the box, if we can't satisfy the zoning in this city, we can't achieve this redevelopment. It will be over. We brought along a few boards to demonstrate not only our thinking about the buildings, but the fact that we are fully engaged in the redevelopment process. Can you see some of these? This is the bridge connecting the parking garage, the proposed parking garage, to 165 Jackson Street. This will be at our cost, and we hope that this will provide, a weather-tight area for our residents to park in the garage and then access the building immediately. And that's both for residents of 165 Jackson Street and Adden Furniture as well. If you can kind of vision these buildings, the Adden Furniture building sits right behind the CMAA building, and again, functionally connected by bridges, because this was the way the manufacturing process took place in the 19th century. For our residents to access Adden, if we didn't have this transportation link, they'd have to go all the way around CMA and then into what is a kind of narrow, gritty urban space between Joan Fabrics and Adden. So this is a really important transportation link for us that will provide, again, weather-covered access for our residents. We've got some schematic floor plans as well. Again, our units are what we call loft style, meaning that they're open in plan, allowing, other way.
No.
One more. Allowing flexible use of the space. As most of us know, as we track what's going on in America, more and more people are, quote, telecommuting and working out of the house. These folks tend to be creative, entrepreneurial, and we think that in itself, the investment in these buildings is an economic development strategy for Lowell. We can probably assume somewhere around 75 jobs will be, live-work jobs will be out of the box in these buildings. Obviously, the buildings will be providing tax revenue for the city of Lowell as well. The plan presently, and again, we're not totally wedded to this, we're doing our underwriting and feasibility analysis, is to develop 232 units. Some will be condominiums, and some will be 5-year apartments with the ability to convert in 5 years. The apartments that will be held for 5 years are being financed through with tax credits. They provide equity, so you have a balance of debt and equity that provides an affordable but market rate opportunity for young families and singles and first-time home buyers. So we're very excited about the opportunity of investing in the Hamilton Canal and really encourage the city of Lowell to look forward. I know it's probably fairly disappointing to have gone through this process and find yourself at this juncture being required to commit to an additional bond, but I think at the end of the day, it will seem like fairly short money in the long term. It's very important that this area have structured parking, because otherwise there just is really no way to facilitate investment in these really important buildings. And let me again reference, the importance is not only because they're vacant, underutilized. The importance is because they sit in a national landmark district, of which there are only a handful in the United States. There are many National Register districts, but very few national landmark districts. And to that extent, I'd like to make sure all of you are aware that the CMAA building was recently awarded a Save America's Treasures grant, which is a jointly administered program. The National Trust runs it along with the Park Service. Very few of these grants are given out on an annual basis, and the CMAA project won a $250,000 Save America's Treasures grant. Truly, I think, a recognition on the part of the Park Service of the importance of Lowell's industrial heritage and an effort to really validate the importance of 19th century industrial buildings, and they don't come better than the Hamilton Canal District. So thank you very much for your
Can you tell us what your construction timing is for this project? Your timing and time schedule, has that been established?
We haven't finalized the timing completely, but we would most likely be looking to start next spring. We're in the process of design and development right now, doing architectural plans and so forth, and we expect that process will take 9 or 10 months, and so we'd probably be looking for a spring about this time next year to start construction, and then there's probably a year to 18 months of construction. It's a sizable site. There's about 370,000 square feet in the two buildings, so it's a very significant project from a design and construction perspective.
And complicated, but in some way we're married here because our destinies are intertwined, and we really can't move forward with our project if the city of Lowell doesn't build this garage.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Other parties wishing to speak in favor?
Good evening. Vaughn Ross, 165 Jackson Street, Lowell. Just want to echo what Peter Arsala and Laney and Fred from Architectural Heritage Foundation are talking about. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. CMA has been supportive of the garage. I've been at CMA for 3 years now. First time I came to the organization, I knew their 90,000 square feet building is a very hard thing to manage, and I put the building for sale 3 years ago, and nobody came to bid. we try to figure out what to do with the building, but as soon as the city council voted to build a garage, and we put the building on the market again, we had 11 developers walk through the building. And this great opportunity for our organization, because this would create jobs and as well as alleviating a lot of financial burden of having a building. And so we're very supportive of building a garage, and we've been working with the city manager's office and through Matt at DPD, and they're very, very supportive of the organization. And we worked with them, and the parking lot was there was no battle to give up the land to work the building to get the garage built. And so we want the garage built, and the increase is not significant to make people broke. So we hope the council will vote in favor of borrowing the money. Thank you.
Thank you. Other parties wishing to speak in favor?
Hi, I'm Beth Nichols, and I live at 240 Jackson Street. I am approaching this from a pure personal residential perspective. I'm one of the 31 owners who took a chance in the jam plan for the first condo development. And when we were reading the jam plan, I think the parking garage was a very key piece to developing that particular area, and I think that's why a lot of professionals decided to purchase their property there, and I think it would be very important for that area to help clean it up to build the parking garage. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the loan order? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? That portion of the public hearing is now closed. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anybody wishing to speak in opposition?
Hello, my name is Dawn Tiedemann. I live at 200 Market Street, number 404. Although I do agree that the jam plan does need to go into effect, I don't believe it needs to be on the backs of Lowell residents. When I first moved here in 2001, I picked this area from moving from DC because it had a nice urban feel. It's a little bit on the edge, but it seemed like a nice place to go. There were restaurants and bars and that sort of thing downtown for places to go. When I first moved in, parking was $32 a month. I understand in 2004 why the parking rates were increased. You needed to make improvements, you needed to do more things with the garage, and that I understand. Right now, the garages are giving approximately $500,000 in profit. I don't understand why those monies can't be used for this. It is just not justified, in my opinion, to be on the backs of the downtown residents. Most downtown residents come from two-car families. That would be $288 a year extra for downtown residents with no benefit whatsoever to those of us who currently live downtown. The median income in Lowell right now is approximately $39,000. $288 is almost 1% of that median income, and that to me seems a significant amount of money. According to the paper today, Matthew Coggins quoted, "We did not look at any abutters as a source for the financing of this garage." If these are the people who will benefit from the garage, why were we not looking at them for financing? These new developments, the new condo people, the new restaurants, they should be the ones to pay for this deal. I know that many of you do not live in downtown, and perhaps you don't think that this is a lot of money, but for those of us who live downtown, $288 is money I could be spending elsewhere, say at Cobblestones, Mark's Running, Gary's Ice Cream. This is money that's my disposable income, and taking it away would be hard and a hardship for me. If it is so important for Lowell to have this, and I would agree, I think you need to find another way to finance this garage. Perhaps, I know, I hate to say it, I'm a taxpayer. If it's so important, maybe we need to increase taxes. At least then, downtown residents would be able to have a discount on our federal taxes for this money. In closing, $288 is not fair for downtown residents. It's a significant portion of our income. And if we need to have this garage, those who are going to benefit need to pay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? That portion of the public hearing is closed. Then, what is the wish of the council? Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Having heard everybody here tonight, I don't think anybody here wants to spend more money, but I think that the city made a commitment to build a garage, and the design is spectacular. We're only going to get to build it once. We can't go back and change it when we have more money. I think the manager, DPD, they've worked on these numbers. They've worked on the plans for a long time. It's my understanding that if we start over the bidding process, it's going to take 6 months just to get it out to bid. We have some major development going on over there. It's unfortunate that the users are going to be responsible to pay the increases, but I would be more in favor of that than putting it on the entire residents. Again, I don't think anybody wants to spend more money, but I think it's vital to do the parking garage. It's a commitment we made, and there's development that's hinging on it, and I think that in the long run, it's going to be better for the city. One thing that I would consider, and I don't know when it would come about, but is we're going to put retail space in here. I would consider putting that tax money received when it's done and coming in towards this bond money. If it helps alleviate some of the parking rate at that time. But again, I know that's down the road, but I would consider doing that as a means of helping out with the parking for the people that are down there. It's unfortunate, but it's the circumstances we're forced in now. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Ramirez?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm certainly going to support the motion. I think that tonight's vote on this is critically important to the development of the jam plan, as it's been said. The city is going through some growing pains, specifically downtown, and I think that this is certainly, it goes a long way towards easing the pain. It's a very difficult decision financially. However, I am going to support it in the name of progress. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Rita Mercier?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This loan order to support the construction of a parking facility in that particular jam area is completely what we owe the people in that residential area, the businesses in the Uptown Business Association or Jam Bar, whatever their name is going to be. I think we do owe that to them. I support this 100%. Now, when we get to the rate and charges, that's another issue altogether. I know that somehow we have to pay for this, but I'm wondering if, like you heard the rest of the people that spoke before the podium, and they asked that it be not, I would not support this to raise taxes on the backs of the taxpayer. I certainly will not do that. I firmly believe that it should be the responsibility of the people that utilize this. I wouldn't think that people that don't use it should have to pay for it. That's strictly my belief. But having said that, is there no alternative way to try to alleviate the burden on the backs of the residents that live downtown, and that there is a profit of probably $500,000? Does it go to a way that we could alleviate that or not raise it so drastically? I know it's probably reasonable compared to Boston, that's what they say, but this isn't Boston. These are people that live downtown. We're, you know, improving the area downtown and making a ton of condos, and yet we're burdening them a little bit more by raising the rates yet again. And it's not that we haven't done it in a long time. We did it just a little while ago. So I'm wondering if we could look at that in another way with the profits from the garage. Can we utilize that? I don't know. Does someone have an answer? Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, we looked at that very closely. Clearly, this was the last resort that we wanted to do. As already been pointed out, we raised the rates a few years ago. Our rates are still very, very low, not only compared with Boston, but compared with surrounding cities and in the area, cities of like size. And as you know, we also offer downtown residents a parking discount, which I know does not go far enough, I'm sure, for many of them, but it is something that we try to do to make it a little less burdensome on the downtown residents. So, clearly this is the last resort. We clearly have looked at every potential. It's interesting to note that the figures from the parking department would actually show that about 60% of the people who use the garages in the downtown actually come from outside of the city. And we thought that was pretty interesting when we saw that. So although I know it is a burden on people who use the garages, it really seems to be, and I hate to use the word fairest, but the fairest way to go at this point. So but we have looked at all those other alternatives.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, too, will be supporting this loan order. I would, though, request that the planning department go back to consigli and see if there are, again, working through the architect and engineer to see if there are items, probably more non-code related items that might be able to be looked at and through change orders could possibly be eliminated to reduce the cost. Again, it's something that probably can't happen. I know that we're under the gun, obviously, to award the contract by tomorrow. Consigli is a very, in my opinion, a very good contractor. I am concerned, however, that we ended up, I believe there were 70 companies that took out proposals, but only 2 ended up submitting bids. So I think that in itself is something that we need to look at in the future as well. But again, I think, as other speakers have already stated, that this garage has been under a planning stage, if you will, for quite some time, and I think we owe it to that part of the downtown area to move forward. So I do plan to support the loan order.
Councilor Donahue?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This matter's been before the council and in the subcommittee a number of times. When we first planned this garage, and when we actually raised the rates the last time, we anticipated that rate increase would not only improve the existing garages, but pay for the new garage. That's what we told people. Now, through no fault of anyone here at the city, these bids came in over the top, completely out of line with anything that we had expected. We thought the garage would cost about $16 million to build. We had professionals, we had architects, we had cost estimators, and we even increased the bond at one point by, was it 1.7 million or something like that, because our experts told us, you know what, because of cost it's going to be more, because of what you want to achieve here. And everybody understood that we're trying to make a garage, build a garage that's going to be an economic catalyst. But when the bids came in and were so out of line, that's when, and I said it at the subcommittee, I'm going to vote to send this to a public hearing, but this is crazy. These prices are through the roof. Every cost that we were told by our experts was pretty much in line, except for precast concrete is what they told us. The general contractor, Consigli, who's building a garage across the river, or not even across the river, but over at the university, bid on a garage for the university that in December said they'd build a garage for the university for 18 grand a space. And when we open our bids, it's like 24 grand a space. Now, I know our garage is different. We have some retail and so forth on the ground floor, but between December and March, these costs are crazy. And it's not just the cost to construct the garage in today's dollars, but when you look at what it costs to build this garage over, let's say, a 20-year bond, it gets even crazier. I mean, and believe me, my math could be off a bit, but if you look at borrowing $27 million for the cost of the garage and the acquisition costs and all, and you bond it over 20 years, it's going to cost the city $41 million to build a garage. I mean, I certainly understand that there's a need for a parking garage down there. The question is, can it be afforded? And this is the rate increase that we're going to be asked to vote on later on. That's without even putting a shovel in the ground. And I haven't seen too many projects that don't go over budget by the time you're finished. And so when you figure in the financing costs of this garage, you're paying the city will end up paying about $46,000 a space. That's just to build the garage over 20 years. And that's not counting, you know, all the maintenance, the upkeep, the service, you know, things that are needed over a 20-year period. I mean, I certainly believe that a garage is needed. The problem I have is with this bid, and I know someone called it the low bidder, and they were, but low seems like, you know, the wrong word to describe this particular bid. Now, what do we do in the meantime? I mean, we have some commitments out there to, you know, even in terms of the Hamilton Canal District, we've made some deals with certain land takings. And I think we're committed to about 100 or 110 spots right now as we speak on those takings with CMAA land and with Verizon. But I think there's a way of satisfying that demand by using the land as a surface lot on a temporary basis. I know no one wants to hear that. I know no one wants to say, let's just put a surface parking lot and get 275 spaces for about 10 grand instead of building a 900-car garage. But the problem I have is the only explanation we were given by the architect and the experts as to why were these bids so out of whack was Katrina. That's what we were told, that Katrina has raised the costs of precast concrete to the moon. I think it was the architect, I forget who it was at the subcommittee, said, oh yeah, I mean, these costs are crazy. This is like building an underground garage. Well, we're not building an underground garage. We're building an above-ground garage. And I agree, it's not often that you see construction costs go down. That's true. But when the only cost that was so crazy is this precast concrete, and it doesn't make any sense, you know, then maybe this isn't the right time to build this garage. Could a surface lot satisfy the immediate needs and then build a garage later? My other concern is, and again, looking at numbers, I do not believe, particularly if we are to commit spaces to people in the Hamilton Canal District. It's just an if. But if we were, I think that puts a further strain on the cash flow to try and pay for this $41 million garage. It's going to fall on either the ratepayers will go much higher than what we're talking about today in 2006, or it's going to be on the backs of the taxpayers. Is it needed? Yes. My problem is at this cost, on this bid, I can't support going up another $4.5 million. I certainly supported the garage at first. I even supported the $1.7 million increase that we were asked to do a few months ago, but that was with the understanding that the existing rates were going to take care of it. Now, this is just too much, and I think it's time to step back and let's look at this and see, is this the right time to do this? So that's my view on this $4 million. So I will not support to increase the loan order by another $4.5 million.
Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you. I want to echo the words of Peter Vasella, who spoke approximately a half an hour ago, indicating the importance of that garage in that neighborhood. It will pay dividends, and without the garage, you will not fully renovate or move forward in the jam plan. When is a good time to build a garage? 2 years from now? And the cost won't be $21 million, it'll be $25 million. The construction costs are escalating every single month as we speak. Just go out and price a sheet of plywood, and you will find that out. So I'm going to support this. And what Peter Vasella brought forward was the $500,000 that's generated from the present parking garages. I think we take a long, hard look at the financing. Maybe the city and the council and the city manager can find ways and means of paying a partial portion of this bond, this loan. That neighborhood, Mr. Mayor, has been neglected 70, 80 years. This is our chance. This is their chance to resurrect it. Without that garage, as the developers pointed out, there won't be any development. Putting in a parking lot there for 275 cars is cheating those businesses in that neighborhood, and it's going to cheat the developers as well. So I'm going to support the loan order, and I supported the garage from day one, and I'll do so tonight.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you. I also supported the garage from day one because all the plans that we looked at, the jam plan, the revitalization efforts in that area indicated that a garage was needed if we were going to spur development. And that's why I supported it without question. I had reservations on the additional 1.75, but I thought it was important again to move forward and live up to my commitment that we do need that, and it is going to stimulate economic development. But at some point in time, you have to say, can we afford it, or can we not? I was at the subcommittee meeting, and I spoke to Mr. Coggins tonight, and I asked the question. It's a 900-space parking garage. Do we need a 900-space parking garage? I mean, there's been studies that say maybe we need more, maybe we need less. Councilor Donahue just indicated we have commitments at this point for about 110 spaces. And I asked Mr. Coggins, why can't we reduce it? Why don't we honor our commitment? I do agree that we need parking in that area, but can we afford it? And I don't think that we can. And I don't think just raising the rates is the answer, whether it is, to the people downtown or the people coming in to do business. I don't think we want to alienate or lose any more business downtown, and continuously raising these rates, I don't think sends a good message. Why can't we scale it back? Why do we need 900? Where did the number come from? Why don't we build one for 500? Can we save some significant money somewhere? I happen to think that we can. Will we lose this bid as a result of that? Yes, but do we move forward and hope that we can pay for this thing? We received the report February 28th from the parking department. And I think we're very close on the margin, and we're going to increase these rates because we can't afford it at the current rates. My concern, one of my concerns on this revenue stream is part of the revenue versus expenses and the balance that's left over is the parking fees. 1.2 million, that's a significant amount of revenue from to fund the parking department and to pay for these notes. 1.2 million, that's a projection. What happens if we don't collect that many fees? Well, what's going to happen, in my opinion, is what happened before we had the rate increase, is that the taxpayers are going to be responsible for it. And ultimately, the taxpayers are, because they're general obligation bonds. They're not revenue bonds. So I'm not opposed to it, but I can't support an additional 4.5 million. It just doesn't sit right. And if you look at the numbers, that tells me that we shouldn't be proceeding with this plan. The costs go down. I don't know. I know that there was discussion about retail, and it's a nice design, and we all want that. But I'm sure all of us are cutting back on some things with gas prices going up. Maybe we're not all going to make a longer trip this summer or take any trip. We're all having to cut back. Maybe we have to do it with this particular area. We're about to go into the budget season. I think we get some significant issues that we have to deal with. I think we have some financial challenges ahead, and I think we need to find out where we are with that first, and I don't see the harm in delaying something that we're going to have to pay for the next 25 years. And if the economy slumps or it slows down a little bit, 25 years is a long time. I think that we're just pushing the limit, and I think we can achieve a parking garage there if we take another look at it. How can we scale back? Do we need retail in that first floor? It would be nice. It didn't work in the John Street parking garage. I work in Boston. I don't see successful retail in any of the parking garages down there. Do we need that? Can we scale back on that? I think we'll save $250,000. So these are my concerns. I am not opposed to it. I voted for it initially. I voted for the increase. I do agree that we need one, but I don't want to travel down that slippery slope that, we can't pay for it, or fines didn't come in, or ticketing didn't come in as projected, and the next thing you know, we got to put it on the tax rate. That's going backwards, and if we lose this bid, and I have a concern, why did we have 70 people, companies, take out bid packages and only 2 return them? That doesn't make sense in an economy that is coming back, and contractors that are looking for work. I think we need to look at that big package. Maybe there are some issues in there that we need to look at. I'm not an expert on on bidding packages, but something is just not right, and I don't think we need to rush forward. And I take that back. We're not rushing through this. There are not a lot of easy options, but I think we need to take a second look before we expend $5 million that we get an additional $5 million on an already very tight budget. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Milanazzo, could you assume the chair here?
Mayor Martin.
Thank you. I don't want to belabor this any longer. I'm not going to support this loan order, and I thought it was important for me to explain why. I think it's basically 2 reasons. I think Councilor Elliott just hit on one, the fact that we only got 2 bidders. I think we need to look at the way we bid this job. I know our folks in DPD have told us this is the best we can possibly do. I'm not convinced of that. I would be willing to scrap these bids and go back out. That would delay the project, potentially 6 months, maybe even longer. We did hear from the folks from the Architectural Heritage Foundation. They're still 9 months away at least for construction. So I think we have time to do that. Whether that's going to lead to a more expensive garage, I guess is a risk I'm willing to take. I think at $30,000 a space or whatever we're up to now, if you look at overall cost for acquisition and everything, is just extraordinarily expensive. When you speak to people in the construction industry who build garages, it's just way out of whack with whatever they're seeing. So I do think it's important to commit to a garage project. I do think we owe it to the people in that neighborhood. I do think it's central to the JAM plan, but I don't like this bid. I don't think we got the best possible bid we could get. And so for that reason, I'm not going to support it. I thought it was important to state that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Anybody else like to be heard on the motion?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
No.
Councilor Elliott?
No.
Mayor Martin?
No.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milanazzo?
Yes.
6 yeas, 3 nays, the loan order is approved.
Okay, the next item is a public hearing. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 13 thereof entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic pertaining to the schedule of parking rates for parking. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows. The Code of Ordinances of the City of Lowell, hereinafter called the Code, adopted by the Council on April 26, 1988, as amended, is hereby further amended with respect to Chapter 13 thereof entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic as follows. Sections 13.32.1, 13.322, 13.336, 13.337, and 13.341, and all other applicable sections of the code with respect to parking rates in the following listed parking garages and parking areas are hereby amended by designated existing parking rates, both hourly and monthly, and by deleting existing hourly and monthly parking rates and substituting new increased rates as set forth hereinafter. The parking garages covered by the amendments are the Downs Garage on John Street, the Roy Garage on Market Street, the Lower Locks Garage, the Ayotte Garage, and the Davidson Street lot. This ordinance will also apply to the proposed parking garage scheduled to be located on Middle Street. Section B, the schedule of parking rates at the above facilities for monthly pass card ticket holders and transient hourly parking effective upon passage shall be as follows. Individual pass cards from the current rate of $64 will be $70. Pass cards for groups of 20 or more will increase from $52 to $60. Residents of Central Business District from $48 to $60. Special monthly rates are in a range from $17 to $40, and that range will increase from $20 to $50. Elderly and handicapped rates will not change. Under transient hourly rates, there is no change for up to 5 hours, from 5 to 6 hours. The increase is from $6.50 to $7, from 6 to 7 hours, from $7 to $8, from 7 to 8 hours, from $7.50 to $9, and from 8 to 24 hours, from $8 to $10. All provisions of the code of the City of Lowell as amended, which are consistent with this ordinance, shall continue in effect, but all provisions of said code inconsistent are hereby repealed. This ordinance shall take effect upon its passage in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 43 of the Mass General Laws, approved as to form. Christine O'Connor, City Solicitor. Second reading by title. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 13 thereof, entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic, pertaining to the schedule of parking rates for parking. Anybody wish, this is a public hearing.
Oh, it's a public hearing.
Public hearing. So we'll open the public hearing for anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance. Anybody wishing to speak in favor? That portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition, state your name and address, please.
My name is Bill Lipchitz. I live at 106 Fairmount Street, and I'm the president of the Center City Committee. At our meeting this morning, the Center City Committee discussed the proposed rate change for the downtown garages and its effect on the downtown. It was a consensus of that meeting that while we wholeheartedly support the construction of the Middlesex Street garage, including the additional cost of $4.5 million, we feel that raising the parking rates would be detrimental to the downtown as a whole. We applaud the administration of the garages and the parking department, and in fact, we recently gave an award to Chuck Carney and his team for their contributions to the downtown. But we fear that the recent progress in getting people to use the garages, because they are cleaner, safer, and more convenient, will be undone by a rate increase funded mostly on the backs of the residents and the workers. The committee voted to oppose the rate change and instead urges the council to look at alternative means to raise the necessary funds to build the jam area garage. Specifically, two ideas were proposed: impose a surcharge on the jam area developers, who will, after all, benefit from the garage, and consider the idea that increased tax revenue that will result from the development of the area should adequately cover the additional borrowing costs. The Center City Committee feels that these alternatives would be a better way to balance the needs of the downtown and the city as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Jean Osborne, Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce, representing over 850 businesses throughout the Greater Lowell area, would like to address the issue of parking increases. I feel it is my responsibility to represent the businesses in the downtown area and those visiting from the surrounding communities. I believe that the Chamber should be a liaison between city leaders and business owners on issues affecting them. The GLCC understands the $4.5 million shortfall and the need to raise money to cover that shortfall. However, the Chamber asked the City Council to review this issue with the subcommittee to seek, again, alternative funding sources. We would hope that the subcommittee would consider having the developers of the upcoming jam area project to be imposed a charge, and also to investigate the idea of increased tax revenues that will be generated throughout the development of that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Good evening. I'm Jim Wild. I'm a resident of 200 Market Street, Canal Place 1 condominiums. As a trustee of Canal Place on Market Street, and on behalf of the association and its 200 residents, I'd like to voice our collective concern for the proposed monthly increase of the Roy Garage on Market Street, that it puts an undue financial burden on our residents. These additional funds are needed to compensate for the budget shortfall for the new parking facility. However, the residents of Canal Place do not directly benefit from the new facility. It's difficult to justify how our residents should be asked to contribute to this expense while other residents are not, other Lowell residents. Unlike daily visitors and local businesses who will benefit directly from an additional garage and can justifiably be asked to contribute to this fund, this is not the case for the residents of Canal Place or any other downtown condominium associations who exclusively use the Roy Garage. By contrast, the previous increase in parking rates was justified since the increased funds were used to improve the quality of parking at the facility used by the residents. If the city wishes to ask Lowell residents to pay for the shortfall, it should be borne equally by all residents throughout the city. We respectfully ask you to reconsider this rate increase that unfairly targets downtown residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Manager, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mark Coleman, 58 Oakland Street, Lowell, Mass. We should be recording against the rate increase, the loan order, because we already have some retail space doors that have closed. We don't need any more closings. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
I'm Jim Stubblefield. I also live at 200 Market Street, Canal Place. My wife and I recently moved to the area in the last year. We like it. We were attracted to the urban area. We understand the development is needed and agree. The parking garage itself currently is a profit center. It would be good to use the profit that we have in order to fund the cost of the new garage. With utilities and everything else going up, cost of fuel, the $8, which everybody refers to as once a month, is starting to add up. A number of our residents in our condo association are on fixed incomes. They do use the parking garage, and we continue to drive the cost up. Therefore, I would like to echo what Jim Wild said and respectfully request that you vote against this increase. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
My name is Sue Beaton. I'm a resident of Canal Place also, and I'm just here to support the condo association's feelings about this current increase. As a resident, we supported the increases 2 years ago, and we got a really improved garage, and we thank you for that. But it just feels like a lot at this time to sort of keep coming back to the downtown residents. And probably the major issue for me is I think it's an anti-marketing. We have a lot of condos in the pipeline. I'd like to see them continue to move. And we have to sort of put the package together and sell it to the public. And I'm a pretty compassionate person on this stuff. So for me to be here, it's a little bit upsetting. So thank you. I just ask you to consider it.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Hi, I'm Libby Bouchard. I'm also a trustee at Canal Place 1. I think what you're talking about businesses, but for us people, this is our home, the downtown residents. And we have no choice about where we're going to park or how much we're going to pay. And it's a big increase for us. It's a big increase with the gas rates going up, with the electricity going up, with the taxes going up. And I really feel that if this is a garage that is going to benefit everybody in Lowell, then everybody in Lowell should be chipping up to pay for it, and not just the downtown residents.
Other folks wishing to speak in opposition?
Good evening. My name is Carl Greenbaum. I also live at 200 Market Street in Canal Place 1, and I'm just here to add my support to the large group of people who believe that some means should be found to fund this additional cost of the garage other than increasing the rates for the residents. You know, in the time we've lived here, our property taxes have gone up significantly. I understand that. The city needs revenue. I keep reading about the need for more market rate housing to increase the vitality of the city. That's happening, but if you continue to raise rates on the residents for things that they have no choice about, such as the parking garage, then you're going to kill the golden goose. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Speak in opposition. That portion of the public hearing is closed. What is the wish of the council? Councilor Donahue.
For some of the reasons I already stated, I'm not going to support a rate increase. I think it's completely unfair. I also think there's no way of us sitting here tonight to say, yep, that's the only rate increase you're going to need, because we told these people that 2 years ago. We told them that the rate increase we did was going to pay for this new garage, and it turned out to be not true. It's not, again, I want to reiterate, it's not through any fault of the city. The bids came in sky high. We haven't built it yet, and it's probably going to cost more by the time it's built. I think it absolutely is a counter marketing and counter to business in downtown. Businesses struggle a lot. Believe it or not, I am out and about in the downtown at downtown venues on a regular basis. I work downtown. I talk to business owners. We are always at risk or in competition with malls and the like. So as far as the business goes, they always have to compete with people who have to pay to park. Now we're going to raise that. We're going to raise the parking rates. We're going to raise the meter rates. We're going to raise the fines. We're going to chase business out of the downtown. What about all these residents that we've attracted? You know, and they've been good for the downtown. It's been good for the city, and we've brought them in, but now we're going to raise their rates. And we're going to raise the rates, you know, we tell them we think this will do it, but my own opinion, don't think it will do it. And we'll be going back to them again. And you have to ask yourself, so the city wants to build a new garage on Middlesex Street, then why should Canal Place have to pay for it any more than someone living on Andover Street? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, if it's going to benefit the city, and by the way, I'm not in favor of putting it on the tax rate. I'm not in favor of raising taxes for it. I'm in favor of going out and getting a better bid. But why should, you know, to say the parking rate user should pay for it, that's completely unfair. It's unfair to the people who park in the John Street garage, to the Roy Street garage, to the, you know, to the Aon. I mean, they don't have any personal benefit or stake because the Middlesex jam area is getting a garage. I mean, overall, it may benefit the city, but it doesn't benefit that person using their pass card. So, you know, I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair to hit them again with another rate increase. And I think it is sending the wrong message for business and for residents in the downtown. You know, I think it's the wrong message completely from what we've been saying. So I'm not going to support a rate increase. I'm not going to support an increase in fines at this point. People want to pay for this increase for what I think is an outrageously expensive garage, then come up with a better way to pay for it. But I don't think this is fair. I think, you know, the other aspect I would ask the parking director to look at, and I've had calls from nonprofits in the downtown. You know, nonprofits have volunteers who come in and work. And a lot of the nonprofits pay those volunteers, pay for their parking because they're volunteering their time. You know, they don't have much money, so they're looking for a special category. And I would ask to look at that for however many there are. There's 2 organizations that I know of that fall into that. And you know, I would also ask the parking director to look into, now, one of the benefits, and I think it should be pointed out, I think the mayor did, that the short-term parking rate doesn't change. So for some of the businesses, people who are in for 1 or 2 hours to shop, that rate won't change. But it's still a struggle for business. And so can we look at somehow using the first floor of the garages in the downtown, make those available for those short-term parkers, and make the, you know, people who park there and pay monthly rates park on the upper level, so that, you know, if I have a business in downtown, someone knows that they can get into a first floor space and get to one of the business. At least can we do something for the business and look at a plan that, you know, I'm not sure how it could happen, but when people come in the morning, make them go up to the upper floors. But, you know, I don't want to belabor the point, but I don't think it's fair now to have voted a $4.5 million increase and now say to the people who park in the garages, okay, so pay it. I can't support it.
Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager. Mr. Manager, how much will this increase generate in a yearly basis?
I don't know off the top of my head, Counselor. I don't know if Chuck Carney has that. He may have that here.
Mr. Carney?
Through you, Mr. Mayor and City Council, Mr. Manager. The plan you see in front of you for the rate adjustment creates about $240,000 in additional revenue per year by those adjustments.
Okay. Now, Peter Sella indicated that the garages are now generating a revenue of over $500,000.
Yes.
And the question I pose to the manager, or you, or the mayor, why can't we utilize some of that $500,000 to help pay for this extra funding for the garage?
Mr. Manager?
Well, I mean, my understanding, Counselor, is that that $500,000 that's being generated now is going to be used to pay off the bonds down the road. Is that right?
No, that's still in the revenue sharing line, Mr. Manager.
Oh, the revenue share. Okay, the revenue
Right.
sharing that comes back to the city. I mean, it's six of one and half a dozen of the other.
Yeah.
What we've done over the years is when the garages generated a deficit when it was on the taxpayers and generated a deficit, obviously the taxpayers were paying for that. So what the council agreed to do was to do a revenue sharing thing, as Chuck points out, and that's what we're doing. So, I mean, if that stops, and we can certainly stop that, then clearly there's $500,000 less in the going to the general fund.
But what Chuck has indicated, these increases will raise $240,000 a year. So if we only take $240,000 out of the $500,000, we're still $260,000 to the good, Mr. Manager. And why can't we take a look at that?
Well, we can clearly take a look at it. I don't...
And just one other question before I relinquish the floor. The state of Massachusetts has funded some of our garages, our parking garages, that's all?
All of them.
All of them. Have we exhausted all avenues of state funding for this garage?
Yeah, we have. You know, we've looked at that extensively, and our understanding is that there is no more off-street parking grants available from the state.
Okay.
That's what we've been told.
You know, Mr. Manager, like you said, it's a double-edged sword. There's 6.5, a dozen on the other, and you raise the rates, and the people utilizing the garages are going to pay for those rates, but yet we're generating $500,000 a year from the garages presently. If we took $240,000 to pay for this loan, we'd be in the ballpark. That's where I'm coming from, and I like my colleagues to...
I know we say we would not get the full benefit of that money that's coming back to the general fund. I mean, that's clear. I mean, there's only so many avenues to go here.
I know. And I know how important this garage is. It's very, very important to that neighborhood and to the renovations of the jam plan. But I like my colleagues also to get involved with this.
Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to either the manager or the city solicitor, there was talk, and I actually mentioned it with the retail in the garage, but we're going to see as we get development in that area, which is a result ostensibly of the fact that we're putting a garage up, the promise of a garage. Is there a way to direct, and I think I might know the answer now, is that tax revenue comes up, can we then put back some of the money from the parking garage profit into the mix to then
Certainly.
recalculate the rates?
I'm sure that would be possible. You know, right now that money's coming back to the general fund. We're using it for the budget.
So basically,
if once that is the garage is built and there's businesses, residences, what have you, in that neighborhood, and that generates more growth, that goes into the same pot. Could something happen at that time? I'm surely.
I'm just thinking of 230 units over there come online. It's going to take a little while. It may take a couple of years, 3 years maybe, but an adjustment I'm just looking at possible, I mean, there's only one pie here. And, if we take it out of the general fund, that means we're going to have to raise the taxes or hope that revenue increases to cover it. So I think that it's one or the other, but there's been some ideas floated of using the revenue. I would support using the revenue in terms of even just to not take as much out of the parking funds or the profit from the parking garages in the parking fees.
Well, I mean, it's totally up to the council, clearly. I mean, and the reason we looked, again, the reason we looked at the revenues, or the parking rates, is because 60% of the users don't live in the city. So clearly, this has to be paid for from really one of two sources: the taxpayer or the user. I don't think there's no other sources that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Milonazo?
Two things, I guess. One would be if we did a further analysis to remove the residents from the equation, see how much money we could actually generate. Just as an example, our bank has monthly passes, but a number of the people that work at the bank don't live in Lowell, but they work at the bank and they have a monthly pass, so they wouldn't be impacted, but the residents would not be. The other thing is, could you dedicate additional tax revenue, as it has been suggested, the Architectural Heritage Foundation project, the 236 units that Councilor Broderick mentioned? The report that we got from the administration indicated that $170,000 in new tax revenue would eventually come online, probably 2 fiscal years out, but could that then be generated to fund, obviously the bond for the
I'm sure it could, Councilor. I'm sure it could. I mean, we could clearly identify whatever growth that particular development had, and we could that could be figured into whatever calculation the council wanted. So certainly there are ways to do that. Those aren't on the table right now, clearly, but there are ways to do those in the future.
Okay. Councilor Rita Mercier?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't support raising any of these rates and put them on the backs of the taxpayer. The people that probably never use these garages, I don't feel they should have to pay. But having said that, I wonder if we could amend this ordinance to delete the residence raise and leave that as it was. Do you think that would be possible?
We could certainly look at that, Council. I think we'd need some time to see what impact that would have. I don't know. I mean, if we're told that 60% of the users are from out of town, then clearly only 40% of the users are from the city of Lowell. What percentage of those are actually residences, I don't know. But certainly that's something we could look at, clearly. I mean, I think we'd need some time. We couldn't do it tonight.
All right, so then we would delay this. Could we considered having this public hearing today? Could we delay the vote for a week till we get some information? How much would it be?
I'd have to ask the solicitor.
Madam Solicitor, what's the...
The public hearing itself is already closed. You would, at this point in time, you could delay action or continue it for 1 week or until such time as the manager is able to obtain the required information.
Then I would make that in the form of a motion in regards to the fee.
Motion to
fees.
delay action until receipt of a further report and recommendation from the city manager. Would that be the motion?
Second.
Okay, so moved by Councilor Rita Mercier, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. On the motion, Councilor Donahue?
Can we get from the manager, from Mr. Kennedy, a breakdown on what it's going to cost? Like, in other words, $4.5 million to be bonded with principal and interest over the time. How much a year is that going to be? I think it's more than $240,000. I mean, so I think we also have to be mindful of the fact that $240,000 increase is not going to cover this $4.5 million. So you're probably already dipping into that $500,000. So can we get a complete analysis? You may not have the whole $500 available that we do now without the garage being built. I have a feeling we're already into that money. So, I think we talked about a lot, and maybe it would have been better to have the rate discussion before the loan order, but be that as it may, as Councilor Mercier would say, I think if we can get that information, I'm almost positive, I just looked for the information, I'm almost positive that that $500,000 figure was before we built the garage. So I just would like to know, with the current figures, how much of that really is available.
Councilor Elliott?
I'll be brief. I think most of the points have been made, and I made them earlier. I don't think a rate increase makes any sense, considering we just raised them maybe a little over a year ago to address a lot of the maintenance issues, a lot of the security issues, which have been done, by the way. But I just don't think it makes any sense to proceed with this, and the arguments have been made to pay for another garage. We thought we factored it in. We thought we included enough to expand the parking strategy and plan that we put in place that I supported, because I thought it made sense. But I don't think we have our financial house in order to proceed with this, and I don't want to vote for something that is only going to come back to haunt us financially. The manager mentioned, and it's in this report, that there's a revenue sharing back to the city, and that's for debt that has been incurred as a result of these garages. You just can't raise rates and to subsidize the general fund unless there is a purpose, and the purpose is to repay the debt that was for these parking garages. So I think we're all looking for a way, but there is no easy way. Either the ratepayers are going to pay for it, we're going to scale back the project, which we're not going to do, or it's got to go on the back of the taxpayers. There's no magic here. There's no state money, and we need to be straight up. Let's not play any number games. You're either going to raise the rates, and if we do shift to 40% of those residents, if we take that proposed increase and you shift it to the 60%, that's going to go up dramatically. Then I think it sends a bad business message. So I just want to be clear, I'm not going to support it, because I don't think that the downtown businesses nor the residents should be responsible to pay more for something that they're not going to obtain a benefit from. And it coincides with everything else. There's been tax rate increases. Now they've seen a rate increase. I mean, how much can people really afford? How much can they take without it hurting too much? I think one of the major issues that I just heard from one of the individuals that spoke is that there are a lot of people on fixed income living and using these garages. We don't want the garages empty again. I know I came on shortly thereafter when we had deficits, when we had garages that were not being fully utilized. I don't think we want to go back, and I think this is going to send a message that we're going to go back. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick.
Just briefly, I think Councilor Milanazzo just recently had a motion about an update on the TIFs that may be coming up. I think we have one coming up. Could we maybe get somehow, is that been considered in here as far as a potential source that maybe we can relinquish some of the money coming out of the parking fees that we have existing, the $500,000? And I don't know if that's been considered, but that would seem to be another source rather than just increasing our budget, that we could maybe use some of that money. I don't know how much it is. I don't recall offhand, but if that could be considered also, it's new money, for new debt. It may make sense. I don't know. I don't know what the numbers look like, and I don't know how much of the $500,000 is being used currently, as Councilor Donahue mentioned.
TJ reminded me that there is some maintenance of effort thing with the teachers, so it's probably in real numbers about $380,000. Is that right? $360,000 that we actually use in real money to the budget. So I mean, clearly that can be reduced. It's just that's money we plan on in building the budget. So it's a revenue source that will be not the same as it was before. So it affects the general fund. But we can look at all these things, clearly.
Councilor Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are we talking about both ordinances with Councilor Mercier's motion? Have we joined them, or are we still just talking about the rate?
This is the rates. The fines have not been addressed yet.
And if I could just ask Mr. Carney, is the 240 still just the rates, or were you talking about the combination of the fines and the rates?
I'm sorry, Councilor, I couldn't hear you.
Is the $240,000 you spoke about, is that as a result of the parking rate increase, not the fines?
No.
Okay, thank you.
That's parking rate pieces, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to delay action on this ordinance pending a further report and recommendation from the city manager. All those in favor of that motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is adopted. The next item is a public hearing on an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 13 thereof entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic, pertaining to the schedule of parking fines. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows: the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lowell, Massachusetts, hereinafter called the Code, adopted by the City Council on April 26, 1988, as amended, is hereby further amended with respect to Chapter 13 thereof entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic as follows. Section 13-371 fines is hereby amended by amending the schedule of basic fines for parking violations effective upon passage as set forth in Attachment A hereto, which is incorporated by reference made part hereof. All provisions of the City of Lowell Code as amended which are consistent with this ordinance shall continue, and all provisions of the code inconsistent herewith are repealed. The ordinance will take effect upon passage in accordance with Chapter 43 of Massachusetts General Laws. Approved as to form, Christine P. O'Connor, City Solicitor. And the attachment is the increase in fines for meter reading, overtime, violation code 2. The fine would increase from $15 to $30. In Category 2, parking or blocking a fire lane, increase from $20 to $50. Handicap violation from $100 to $200. In Category 3, parking on a crosswalk increases from $20 to $25. And parking within 10 feet of a hydrant increases from $25 to $50. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of the ordinance? Anybody wishing to speak in favor? That portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Oh, I'm sorry. Karen Bell.
Thank you. Karen Bell, 80 Middlesex Street. I think, again, this is another signal that you can send to people coming into Lowell. Stay out of Lowell. I mean, if I'm, as Mr. Carney will attest to, yesterday I filled your coffers with $60 with parking fees, and none of it intentional. I was plugging my quarters, but I happened to go 3 different places. One was a lawyer who happened to take too long, and I was in the lawyer's office in a 15-minute meter outside. And went out once, plugged it, realized I couldn't keep at that meter, 15-minute meter, drove down the street and got a ticket. Drove down the street 2 parking meters away and plugged in 4 quarters. I was with my mother, who was going through a tough time with a lawyer. So I was there, and we went overtime, and I got another overtime, another $20 ticket. And I drove down the street to my club, and my mother had to go to the bathroom, so I just pulled in, took her out of the car, and the meter maid was standing down the street, and I'm walking my mother into the club to go to the bathroom. I don't have another quarter. So I go in, take her to the bathroom, I come out, and there's an announcement over the PA, Karen, they're giving you a ticket. I said, no, they can't give me a ticket. They've given me 2 tickets. 3 tickets, $60 in 1 hour. So I think I might, in that case, go to a lawyer someplace else other than downtown Lowell. You know, and certainly I wouldn't go to my club. I'd go around the corner where I could get free parking. But anyway, I know it's tough. You need the money, and we all need the money in the city, but I think that you're sending some pretty tough signals to people coming into the city to now enjoy this great destination place. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Oh, sir, you looking to speak? Okay. Portion of the public hearing is closed. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Some time ago, it was well known in the city that if you parked in any meter, you could park there all day because the fine wouldn't be great enough. It would be cheaper to get a ticket than it would be to park in a garage or, you know, and do the right thing. So we asked at that time if we could raise the parking fees so that people wouldn't stay there all day welcoming a ticket, because it would be cheaper for them to get that ticket than it would be to go into a garage. So I think this serves this purpose here. I see that if you illegally park in a handicapped person spot, it used to be a $100 fine, now it's $200. They should raise it to $1,000. Because anybody that parks in a handicap spot and is very capable of walking should get a $1,000 fine. That's my opinion. And I know that it's tough. You don't go around with a measuring tape knowing that you're 10 feet away from a hydrant, but if they enforce these things, I just want to know through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city manager, where is this money going with these fines? Does it go back into the general fund? Do we have to ship it off to Boston, or where is this money going?
I think it comes to the general fund.
Okay, if it goes to the general fund and we just raise this, what impact will this
It
have?
probably goes to the parking garages.
Right, that it goes back. So when you figure out the equation for, instead of raising residents' rates, can you factor in what possibly could happen with the rates, with these fines being raised? Because that may off balance, and we probably don't have to raise the residents that park in the garages.
We can look at that, Council. I think it might be right. You might be raising them to $1,000
Well,
a
there
fine.
you go. I would support that.
Then
on that
nobody will
one.
violate it, and you're not going to get any money.
And if they know that, oh gee, they're strict in Lowell, good, then they probably will obey the law, and people that are handicapped can park in their spot that's available.
We can look at that, Council, certainly.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In looking at the three different categories, I would feel comfortable supporting Category 2 and Category 3, but I would not support Category 1, changing the fee from $15 to $30. As Councilor Rita Mercier indicated, anybody that would park illegally in a handicap zone should be charged, in this case, the $200, and anybody in parking within 10 feet of a fire hydrant should be charged, again, being suggested the $50. But again, $15 to go from $15 to $30, I think is too much of an increase. So I don't know if we can divide the question or, again, refer this ordinance to the manager's office for report and recommendation next week as well. But my position would be to divide the, if we go forward tonight, to divide the question.
Okay.
We can delay it, Council, look at all.
Councilor Armin Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Manager. These two things are connected, are they not? To bond the parking garage.
Yes.
If that's the case, then I would move that this also be delayed for a week pending a review by your office on how best to fund the bond for the garage, because apparently it can't come the way it was presented tonight.
Sure.
So I would move that this ordinance also be continued for a week.
Second.
Okay. Motion to delay pending further report from the manager by Councilor Armin Mercier, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Being the chairman of the Lowell Handicap Commission, they would be absolutely excited and happy if we raised the fine from $100 to $200. Anyone who parks in the handicap parking spot, and that handicapped person has to walk 10 feet longer. In some instances, Mr. Manager, it's like walking 3 miles to those people. So I would support the increase in parking, blocking a fire lane, handicap parking spots, parking on a crosswalk, parking within 10 feet of a fire hydrant. But I do have a question on the meter feeding overtime, and I'm happy that Councilor Armin Mercier brought that forward, and thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I feel the same way. I think categories 2 and 3 are, as Councilor Armin Mercier would say, as former Councilor Dick Howe would say, a no-brainer. But the first one seems a bit steep, and it may be prohibitive to business downtown. If we could, Mr. Manager, when we get a breakdown, and I know I'm sure you've run these numbers sideways, upside down, all over the charts. Somehow, let us know what do we anticipate we're going to raise with Category 1, and a breakdown. I mean, we may find out that that's 70% of the money that we're trying to raise to pay for the bond. So obviously, that's going to play a major role in this whole configuration. But to me, it seems very steep. I know I frequently get tickets myself, being stuck in an appointment. So, yeah, shopping. But I think that if we can, double check these numbers and see what else we may be able to do, I don't know. And I know it's connected, but again, maybe if we look at some of the TIF money that's going to be coming on the tax roll, some other way to defer this. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to delay pending further report and recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion is adopted. On to petitions. The first matter listed under petitions actually was not a petition, so that matter is withdrawn. There is a petition from Keyspan Energy to request to request a gas main in Belmont Ave, 17th Street, Beaver Street, Parker Street, and Chelmsford Street. That matter is to be referred to a public hearing on May 9th. So moved by Councilor Ramirez, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The matter is referred to a public hearing on May 9th. Under motions, the first motion by Councilor Rita Mercier, the City Council requests the City Manager have the Health Director make a presentation on possible bird flu pandemic and the city's preparedness for such. Seconded by Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last Tuesday, I had the opportunity to be invited to the Songus Arena at an event sponsored by Middlesex Community College and the Health Department, as well as the many sponsors that were there, to discuss the reality that the avian influenza strain is spreading quickly throughout the world, and how are we in Lowell going to, A, alert people of the imminent danger, and B, to help people prepare for this pandemic should it arrive here. Let's look at what happened when Katrina struck and people were not prepared. It is my concern through this motion to invite the Health Director, Frank Singleton, to deliver a presentation and make as many people aware of this possible danger that could hit this area. I would not want anyone to say that we didn't know of the danger, but I think that we as public servants have a responsibility to inform, to educate, and to prepare people for circumstances that could devastate an area. I firmly believe that it is better to be prepared and have nothing happen than to not be prepared and have this pandemic flu knock at our front door. We need to warn people in advance. T.J. McCarthy, the Assistant City Manager, was there. It was a very informative meeting. I don't want to frighten people, but I think that it's possible that it could come here, and I think it's better that we be prepared, that we notify the public, and that we have Frank Singleton prepare a presentation. Now, I'm not saying probably next week, but Mr. Manager, when you have time and he has time available, that we have not a lengthy agenda, probably he could come.
I'm sure he'd be happy to do that, Councilor.
I'm sure, and I hope he don't say the word like dead bodies and stuff all over, because he kind of tends to do that.
We're going to give him the PG rating before he comes in.
Because kids could probably be watching, you never know.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is adopted. Next motion is by Councilor Rita Mercier. City Council requests the City Manager take necessary steps to continue Student Government Day. Seconded by Councilor Milonazo. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a yearly motion that welcomes students from various high schools and lets the students shadow the different department heads and counselors. Usually this special day takes place in April, but as busy as everyone was, I am asking through this motion that we can continue this tradition sometime in May and not dissolve it entirely. It is my understanding that Lowell Catholic High School should be the participating school this year, so please let me know when this date can recommence.
I thought we were still doing it, Council. I'll find out.
Okay, well, we usually do it in April, but we're getting into May, so I don't want to forget it. Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is adopted. Next motion is by Councilor Elliott. The City Council requests the City Manager have the Law Department draw the proper vote to name the corner of Wentworth Ave and Hovey Street for Raymond Reed Sr., seconded by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll have more to say when the proper vote is drawn up, but Mr. Reed was in addition to his military service as a World War II veteran, as a staff sergeant in Australia and the Philippines, and in Japan. He was also a police officer in the city for 40 years, and well-respected, well-regarded individual. So when the proper vote comes in, I'll have more to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? That motion is adopted. Next motion is by Councilor Elliott. The City Council requests the City Manager take the necessary steps to implement the recommendations of the Inspector General as it relates to towing contracts.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Donahue. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We all received a copy of a letter dated April 12th, and there are some serious issues that I think we need to address, and I want to file a motion to have a discussion on them and actually look at the recommendations that the Inspector General did put into place. I think it's important to note, and I've had conversations with the city solicitor on this, the city did nothing wrong in bidding this the way that we did. Just by way of background, this came up 2 years ago for a couple of reasons. Number one, the police department, through Ms. Gendron and the police chief and Lieutenant Mean indicated that the cost to manage these tow contracts or the service, the administrative costs associated with it, it was not being covered by the $10 fee, which has to be absorbed by the person getting towed. So the thought was, let's go through the process and have those individuals that want to bid, they want to do business in the city, give money back to the city as part of as part of doing business. And when bids came back, they look conspicuous, but the individuals signed disclosures saying that there was no collusion. So the long and the short of it is that it was challenged, and the Inspector General feels and notes significantly that that there was collusion, considering the closeness of the bid. So one of the recommendations is to either toss the bids out and go through another process. And I think it's a good idea, first and foremost, because that's what the recommendation is. But secondly, there's more revenue for the city. If you look at the officer's time, if you look at the administrative duties that the staff has to do at the police department, $10 per tow is not making it, and the city has to pick up whatever cost those are. So that's one of the recommendations. I think we need to pursue it, either through the manager, mayor, to the city solicitor. Can you provide us any of the information as to why we shouldn't do this? I think we should. Maybe you'll agree, but I think it's important that we go back out. We get good numbers, which means more money for the city, a better process, and that's a recommendation from the Inspector General. So I'll look for your comments, and I think we should do that.
Council, I've spoken with the law department. Obviously, they are reviewing those findings, and we'll get a report to the council as soon as possible.
Okay.
Councilor Donahue.
Thank you. I did speak with the solicitor earlier this evening, and she did confirm, I believe it was in the newspaper, that the people who were successful bidders did sign an affidavit or a document to that effect under the pains and penalties of perjury that they wouldn't collude and that they understood the law, that you couldn't collude. The Inspector General has given an opinion that these prices are clear evidence, to him anyway, that there was collusion. To come up with 101, 103, 107, 107, 110, 150, and then the next one, $22. It's remarkable that they'd be so close. So it certainly raises, suspicion of collusion. I guess the issue, and I would look forward to the report, but I have a number of concerns about it. I mean, what, if anything, has the Inspector General done with his findings? In other words, has he forwarded these findings to either the District Attorney's Office or to the U.S. Attorney's Office for violation of the law? If not, what, if any, effect does this opinion have? In other words, the Inspector General says, this looks like collusion, throw out the contracts. But that's an opinion, so I don't know whether that is grounds to invalidate the contract just because he said so. So I would ask for that information in the report. You know, maybe if you're one of the contractors, you're going to say, or the towing companies, well, so what? He said that, I deny it, you know, and then they may challenge throwing out their contract. So I think we need to get more information also from the Inspector General. What's the status? I mean, he's made recommendations. Does that mean has he closed the file? Has he referred it on? If so, what have those authorities done with this? If nothing, do we have an obligation to refer this where it's so suspicious on its face and we have an opinion from the Inspector General? Should we be referring this to the District Attorney or to the U.S. Attorney's Office? I mean, we're not in a position to make these kind of decisions. We don't sit as a judge and jury, you know, take evidence, decide whether there's collusion or not. I mean, there is a law, it's in violation of the law, but as a city, I mean, we don't really have the means to come to any firm determination that someone broke the law. That really is the job of the DA's office and the U.S. Attorney's Office. So, and I guess I'd look forward in the report to a recommendation, you know, if we can find out A, from Inspector General, or B, are we the ones who are supposed to do something about it? And then I guess, you know, if there was a determination, and I don't know what this determination, what weight it has. If there's a determination by a court, for example, at some point, should these individuals, if they are found to have colluded, should they be barred from bidding on contracts in the city of Lowell? So, you know, I think we need a lot more information than this letter gave us from the Inspector General before we can take any action, though I would agree, it certainly seems like serious findings, serious allegations, and not something we should ignore. But we do need a lot more information to know what's our next step. So I'd look forward to the report from the manager and from the solicitor on this issue.
Okay. Councilor Ramirez?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't disagree with Councilor Donahue, and I would like to say that according to the report, and I've read it over a number of times, I don't see where the city, the administration has done anything wrong here. I mean, the paragraph clearly states that the chief made recommendations and the manager adopted the recommendation. So it's more of the contractors kind of snooker in the city, signing a contract that says we did not collude, but the evidence is clear. So it's got nothing to do with the city. That's why I think the report is clear. We need to make sure that these individuals, when they sign the contract with the solicitor's office, that they mean what they say and they know what they're signing, because that report should not reflect bad on the city. The city and the police chief and the administration have done nothing wrong here. It appears that some of the contractors have, so I'm waiting for the report. But I would like to ask for the solicitor, the manager, to get a report on the last recommendation from the Inspector General. Does clearly point the finger at the city in terms of one issue, and that is that if the city is going to continue to utilize the provisions as outlined in the contract, that it should play by its own rules and award the most lucrative contracts in the zones. And I'm just curious what process was used so that if you've got somebody offering $30 per tow and $20 per tow, how were they discounted? And again, that is a bona fide issue that the Inspector General has and that I have as a board of director here that I'd like to look at. I want to know why they weren't considered. But again, as to the collusion, that is foul play on the side of the contractors to the city because, again, we are not our brother's keepers. If we ask somebody to sign a contract and they sign it, they're telling us that they did not speak to each other about it, and, you know, we got to take them at their word. So I don't have any problem with finding out what those folks are up to, but I do have an issue with the folks that submitted bids to pay a lot more to the city and were not considered, or if they were considered, if we can just get an idea as to how they were ruled out. Madam Solicitor?
Sure. The police department oversees the bid process, and one of the primary things that they look at all times during these processes is public safety. So there may be reasons why someone might have submitted a bid, and for other reasons, the police department deemed it to be in the best interest of the city to not select them. And these things have been the subject of lawsuits in the past, where decisions by the police department for various reasons to not select a bidder have been upheld by the court, as was this process, again, upheld by the court. In terms of the last recommendation by the Inspector General that the city, quote, play by its own rules, I would emphasize that there is nothing in the document that went out by the city that in any way indicated that those that submitted the highest bid would get what is referred to as the most lucrative zone. One of the things that the police department always has to do in awarding these types of contracts is they have to balance where the location of a tow company and look at that in respect to its ability to quickly get to the scene of an accident or to remove an obstruction or whatever the cause may be. And so that is one of their primary goals in assigning these zones, as I've always understood it to be. And we can get a report from the police department to that effect, and I think that's pretty much what we'd hear. In this particular case, because for the first time we were getting these bids, that was also an added consideration. But again, as I understood the way the process has worked, is that the police department really has to balance, again, and the first primary goal is always going to be public safety, whether it be the location of the zone or who's going to be doing the tow.
Well, I thank you. I appreciate that. If we could have either the chief or the lieutenant that is constantly referred to just come and give us an idea of what standards they use to rule people in and out based on public safety. I know that the report outlines the requirements for insurance and what have you, and those are very important. You got to make sure that folks are qualified. Again, so it's the tow contractors, in my judgment, that appear to have done the wrongdoing here, according to this report. But I do want to know about the contract process, because we're losing a lot of money. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Rita Mercy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question regarding one towing company, which I'm not going to mention any names, that got disqualified and obliterated because one of their employees is of questionable character, so that was the reasoning. But it's amazing to know that when another particular contractor that had been awarded the towing contract is short of people, they call this questionable person to do towing for them. So I don't get that, but that's what I'm understanding. So there are some questions that I have, and that's one of them.
Okay, Councilor Caulfield.
Just very briefly, Mr. Mayor, I do believe, through you to the manager, there's a special criteria involved with awarding a contract. The towing contractor has to have ample room to park and store cars, and must pass a query check, and must be professional in all the standards. Is that so?
You know, Councilor, I'm not sure exactly what the criteria is. I know that the police department goes through that. They make recommendations, and we accept the recommendations. So I don't know specifically what the...
But they must have...
there is. I'm sure there is, yes.
They must have a parcel of land where the vehicles can be secured and locked and so forth. So you're not going to just pick out a towing contract out of the air, because there's not that many of them out there. So.
Correct.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Anyone opposed? The motion is adopted. Next motion is by Councilor Elliott. The City Council requests the City Manager report on the status of the administrative leave cases in the Police Department, seconded by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Elliott.
The motion really speaks for itself. Mr. Manager, I know in public safety we had discussed these cases. There were 3 or 4. Is there any progress on those? Just trying to look at getting more officers back in the street. I know 111F is making progress in reducing those numbers, and I know we're going in, and my logic is we're going into the budget season, and we had initially looked at least starting the process of new officers, and just trying to stay on top of it, where are we at with those. I think it was 3 if I'm not mistaken.
Been a little busy the last 2 days, Counselor. I'll certainly get you a report on it
All right,
for next
thanks.
week.
Councilor Donahue.
Yeah, thank you. We did talk about this in the subcommittee, and we have a follow-up, not so much the administrative officers, but staffing. Next Tuesday, there's a follow-up subcommittee for public safety that I told the clerk about today at 5:30, if everybody can make it, and regarding the staffing issue, which was one of the issues, the 3. So if at 5:30 for public safety next Tuesday.
I'll be there.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Anybody opposed? The motion is adopted. Next motion is by Councilor Elliott. The City Council requests the City Manager have the City Solicitor report on court rulings regarding the Westview Road Development Project, seconded by Councilor Donahue. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I filed this motion as a result of receiving a couple of phone calls from people in the Westview Westview Road area, excuse me, and apparently there's been a decision by Land Court that the project that was denied has been sent back to the Planning Board, and I have learned that just a few days ago another plan has been submitted, not much different from the original plan. I haven't seen the plan, but I wanted to ask the solicitor or through the mayor and manager. I thought we changed the zoning in that area, that the council was going to be the special permit authority for a planned unit development, a PUD. Why is it going to the planning board? Because it was appealed, and I guess that plan is still alive, or it's still eligible, and because it was appealed, it goes back to the planning board again for their approval.
I've had a conflict on this case. My parents live on Westview Road, so
So you really must know what's going on, right?
Yeah.
She was
actually,
not one of the people that called.
I just learned today, as a result of your motion, that that they did resubmit a plan. However, the attorney in our office will prepare a detailed memo as to what has been going on in the case. As I understand it, there hasn't been any court rulings. What there has been is a request on the part of the plaintiff in this matter to go back to the planning board, and there's a status conference pending, I think in June, on this matter, and the court would review it again. So the court still has jurisdiction over it. As far as I know, there have been absolutely no rulings on it, and we will also ask that DPD provide a supplementary memorandum as to what actually has been submitted to DPD and how it compares with what had been previously submitted to them for your packet.
Okay, thank you. I think it'll clarify for the neighbors and the people affected on the street exactly what has taken place, what is taking place, and why another plan has been submitted. So, thank you. I'm sorry I've forgotten that you lived on Westview Road.
Okay, the next motion by Councilor Donahue has been withdrawn. No other matters to come before the meeting. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just before I left the house this evening, a lady called and said that the street light flickers and goes out. It's very dark in the area of the neighborhood, the corner of High Street and Porter Street, next to St. Stanislaus School. I'm going to give you this so that you know that. And did we have something in our packet that talked about the bridge closing, nights only, the Willette Bridge? Did we want to talk about this for a moment to alert the listening audience beginning next Sunday, April 5th?
Beginning next
Mr.
Sunday.
McCarthy, if you could just make an announcement.
Sure. Beginning next Sunday, I believe it's at midnight. It's all going to be night work, and will be open for daytime traffic.
Oh, it will be open for
Yes, it
daytime
will.
traffic?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilor Donahue.
Thank you. Yeah, National Grid hasn't been back since they were given a whole list. They're probably not going to put a pole in the city again. It just, as an announcement to, I spoke with the city clerk a few weeks ago about asking the then Mayor Armin Mercier's Cultural Task Force, and now reappointed by Councilor Bill Martin, for some time on next week's agenda, just to give a brief presentation in terms of the findings. So if my colleagues will accommodate, it will take about 10 minutes in the beginning of the meeting. Just some of the recommendations and findings that the task force has been working on for about a year, or close to a year, since they were first appointed. So
Thank
that's
you.
all.
Okay, motion to adjourn by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Rita Mercier. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The meeting stands adjourned.